Disney World becoming expensive.
I haven't been to
Okay.
Walt Disney World in over 4 years, and that's weird for me as I was someone who had an annual pass and went many times throughout the year. But after the pandemic, I really just didn't feel the need to return after a palpable creative stagnation and the introduction of blatant anti consumer practices.
To be fair though, I haven't been since I was like maybe actually it's been about I want to say close to 14 years. It's been 14 years since I've actually been to either Disney World or Disneyland.
In fact, the company has constantly raised prices, eliminated formerly complimentary services, and making the whole theme park experience a lot more complicated than it ever used to be. Now, a Disney vacation is a costly proposition, more than it ever has been. But how much exactly? Well, I wanted to find out. I'm going to return to the parks for the first time since 2019, pay out of pocket for an entire single day trip to
Oh my
Disney, and
god.
find out how
How
much it
much?
all costs in the end.
Surely it's gonna cost you an arm and a leg, right? It's gonna
Okay,
cost
so
you at
when I
least a
say I'm doing
liver.
a trip to Disney, I'll be doing the core aspects that would make up the average Disney World vacation. It'll be the things most people traveling here will do when they're on a Disney only trip. Things like transportation, hotel lodging, park tickets, park add ons, as well as food. For this analysis, we'll be going under some assumptions too. Mainly doing the type of trip Disney wants you to have, meaning we'll be doing a trip within the Disney bubble. So we'll be taking the average Disney World family vacation within the property, meaning we won't be staying at any third party hotels, getting food elsewhere, or anything else that might save you a few extra dollars.
So he's actually staying at a physical Disney World resort and doing the whole theme park. Oh my
We'll also be
gosh.
doing a more middle of the road trip, staying at a moderate hotel for two people and not getting any fancy dinners or special merchandise.
Okay.
Like this diamond encrusted
Yeah,
Cinderella's
that's too
castle
much.
that's for sale at the Magic Kingdom for $285,000.
What?
It's not even one of a kind, it's one out of 50. Anyways, I'll of course
Wait,
talk
wait, wait,
about
wait,
some
wait.
alternative, even one of a kind. It's one
$285,000?
out of 50.
God.
Anyways, I'll of course talk about some alternatives to this trip and throw in my own opinions at the end. But for now, let's stay as objective as possible and watch my credit card evaporate as we take off to Orlando, Florida.
Yeah,
So we
literally.
start here at the Orlando International Airport, and we need a way to get to our Disney resort. Since 2005, Disney has had a complimentary bus service that shuttles guests to and from
Really?
the airport called Disney's Magical Express.
I didn't
It was
know
a
that.
fantastic and very clever service that was free to the consumer, which meant it incentivized people to stay at Disney resorts and kept them within the property.
Wow.
But that service was discontinued in 2022, being
Okay.
replaced with a paid option that is now operated by Mears.
Hmm.
Now, for logistical reasons while filming this video, I opted for a rental car instead. But we'll keep to our trip, and for the sake of this video, say we took the bus to our resort, which for
Fair.
two people on a round trip would cost $67.
Wow.
Not a great start for a
No.
service that
No.
used to be free. Though I will point out that it is cheaper than alternatives like Uber, but it's also
Really?
not as direct, as the standard bus service makes multiple stops.
Stops, yep.
When we do arrive, though, we actually find a pretty great resort. This is Disney's Port Orleans Riverside. It began construction in the late 1980s and opened as Disney's Dixie Landings Resort in 1992. This followed the opening of its other half, which was then known as Port Orleans. That was until both resorts rebranded, this one to Riverside and the other to the French.
I'm pretty sure Disneyland, like Walt Disney, was doing this thing where he kind of like used the vibes off of New Orleans and things like that. Even off of Disney movies that he was making at that moment before Disneyland came about, and was using it to make Disneyland Disney World, right? So like Port Orleans, or Orleans, if you will, like the vibe of it with the river and everything. I'm pretty sure it's based out of based off of New Orleans. I think. Don't like correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I
Both
think.
resorts were designed by a Florida-based architectural firm, and Riverside in particular has some nostalgia with me, as it's where my family stayed during our Disney trips. It's also what I consider to be the best moderate resort on property. We got a king bedroom here and were placed in the Arcadian House, one of 4 antebellum-style manors. Overlooking the courtyard fountain, I thought this room was pretty nice. We had
But-
plenty of room, a nice table set up, and a large TV. I like
And you know, with the room, a lot of people want a whole lot more. But if if you're at Disney World, Disneyland, and all you're doing is just gonna spend it in the room to sleep, and then you're back out towards the amusement park, you don't need anything more
One
than
of four
what he
antebellum
has there.
style manors. Overlooking the courtyard fountain, I thought this room was pretty nice. We had plenty of
Like you put your bags down somewhere, you still have the bathroom, right? This they give you the feel of not a door but immersive experience.
room,
You
a
don't need
nice
more
table
than that.
setup, and a large TV. I like the wooden furniture and especially love this piece of concept artwork, presumably from the late 1960s. The bathroom vanity is in theme, as are the faucets, and
Mm-hmm.
while this room layout definitely shows its age, with the closet essentially being part of the bathroom sink area, I think
True.
it's totally fine. Though
Yeah,
this curtain
literally.
separating the bathroom to the living area is absolutely hideous. The bed was
I mean,
so this curtain separating the bathroom to the living area is absolutely
yeah, okay, he's right. I take back what I said. Like with the immersive part, it is bad.
hideous. The bed was comfortable enough, as were the linens, and it was nice that we got a unique corner room which allowed lots of light to shine through our two windows.
That is good.
Now, it definitely has that 80s and 90s style mega resort with motel style outdoor walkways, and that honestly is a bit of a downside, as despite our corner room, anyone walking by can
Can
easily
see.
see right into your space if you have the curtains open. So
Yeah,
there really is no privacy if you want natural light.
that's true.
Regardless, I think this is passable for the money. But
Yeah.
what really shines is when you're outside of the room. I think this is a beautiful resort with plenty of places to explore and relax. We were in the Magnolia Bend area, with all of our buildings themed to these large manors, all with different architectural looks and landscaping. But if you want a more Louisiana swamp style, there's also the Alligator Bayou area, with ultra lush landscaping. The main lobby provides a beautiful check-in area with
Yeah, see how they keep like the aesthetics of it, right? Just with the pillars and the crown moldings and all that, like just with the New Orleans vibe, I
themed
think.
marble desks and a central hardwood floor seating
They
area.
update
The
it but
lobby
don't
building
update it.
also features a themed gift shop, a comfortable fireplace lit lounge attached to a bar, which also happens to have one of the best little known shows performed by pianist and comedian Bob Jackson. Right beside this bar and lounge is a sit down restaurant, and beyond that is a large quick service hall that has pretty good food and a really good atmosphere, with a lot of kinetic energy, with this centerpiece crank being turned by the large paddle wheel outside. The whole area is really well themed and also provides boat service down the river to other resorts and
That's
Disney
nice.
Springs. The pool is also great, as it's located on a small island with a secluded themed bar, play area, and a whole fishing dock. I really love this resort, and I don't think the price was too horrendous. I got a discounted rate at $249 a night, but that really turned out to be $280 a night with tax.
I just want to put out there anyone who goes, "Oh, well, I wouldn't want to stay there." Again, if you want to pay more for something that's a little bit more modern, a little bit more of a current feel, you're going to pay a bigger price for it, right? He felt comfortable staying here cuz he used to, but if you go, "Well, that's not realistic." It's the thing of he chose to be there because it was nostalgic for him as well. So if you want to criticize it, go ahead and pay more. That's fine. I'm not judging. But for the sake of the video, he's just explaining the cost.
So, to start our Disney day, we went to go eat breakfast at Riverside's dining hall, and we both got the bounty platter, which was pretty good apart
Actually
from
looks
the
good.
eggs. The platter is $12.79 per
What?
person, and that came out to an okay $27.24 with tax. But we are at Disney, so let's go to the parks. From here, we can hop on Disney's complimentary bus transportation from the resorts. Now, again, I haven't been to the parks in a while, and when I was coming here often, I had an annual pass. Since then, Disney has completely reformatted the annual pass system, and
So, the smallest amount is a Disney Pixie Dust Pass, $399 plus tax, or $90 per month for 12 months for Florida residents, after a $205 down payment, which comes out to this. Okay. Visit one or more Walt Disney Resort theme parks on most weekdays with an advanced park reservation. Okay, hold up to 3 park reservations at a time, and only for Florida residents. Interesting. The Pirate Pass is $699 with tax, or $45 per month for 12 months for Florida residents after 205. So I think they're all $205 down payments. Subject to blockout dates including peak and holiday periods. So you can still go there even if they have walkout dates, or it's just depending on, okay. Four park reservations and only Florida residents. $8.99, which is $63 a month. Most days with an advanced park reservation. Okay, same thing. Hold up to 5 park reservations. And Disney Vacation Club members only. That's different. And Credit Pass. $1,300 or $99 a month. On the same day. No blackout dates apply and hold up to. So this might be your better thing, but if you don't go there as often, you might just better off with the
Bumped
first.
up the prices for both the passes and regular day tickets. We chose to do the classic park, Magic Kingdom, which also happens to be the most expensive park. Unlike Days of the Past, Disney now has variable pricing for each park depending on when you're going. Magic Kingdom was the most expensive park out of the 4 and cost $154 a person, making it $328 for both of us with tax for one day. As expensive as that sounds, at least it's not on a more expensive day, like in late November, where day tickets can get as high as $184 a person. So apparently everyone else thought this was a good deal too, as I unknowingly picked a bad day to visit the Magic Kingdom. Crowds were insane today, which meant lines were long at basically every attraction in the park. With that being the case, you'll probably want to use FastPass, a way to skip the lines. It was a system that was first introduced in 1999 and was free to use with the cost of your tickets. Then there was FastPass Plus, a reformat of the same system, this time mostly digital, that I found kind of annoying but dealt with. And then that was changed to a system called Lightning Lane in 2021. And that's because Disney discontinued FastPass and replaced it with a similar Pick 3 attraction system. But in this iteration, they now charge you money for it. But Lightning Lane is not necessarily its own thing. You can only access Lightning Lane when you purchase Genie Plus.
Oh,
Confused yet? Well, it gets even more convoluted, because not only do you have to pay for the privilege to now use Lightning Lane, there are also certain attractions like Seven Dwarfs Mine Train that only offer Lightning Lane as an additional purchasable add-on. That's called Individual Lightning Lane. This whole thing is very confusing, and this was even after the time where you had to make a park reservation. And it all just felt very daunting. I can't imagine what older people who aren't as tech literate feel when people explain this whole system to them.
Literally.
I still don't even really get it. So what does Genie Plus cost? Well, it's also under variable pricing, so it's going to change day to day. But during our trip, we paid $23 per person, making it $46 for both of us. So after purchasing the privilege of something we used to get for free, we booked a few attractions for later in the day like Pirates and Haunted Mansion. But throughout the afternoon, the wait times were consistently long, pretty much everywhere. I mean, 75 minutes for Little Mermaid, 90 for Thunder Mountain, 80 for Jungle Cruise. I do not like crowds at all.
I don't, and I agree with him. I don't like crowds either, but I understand where he's coming from. And now when I look look back at it, when my family used to say we have to get up real early, so like if we get there at 6 o'clock, right, at least we can find a decent parking spot. And I know this is in Florida, but when we were when it was in California, when my family was there, you had to get there early, like get through the line quick enough so at least you could do what you want before the crowd comes in. After 12, it gets crazy busy, and Florida might be the same thing, but I get it. Like, I understood after we stopped going.
I don't like standing for long periods of time. This is all very uncomfortable for me. So we really didn't do all that much. It was really bad. I didn't even get to do the People Mover. We walked around, we did Country Bear Jamboree, Hall of Presidents, and Carousel Progress. By this point, it was time for lunch. We went to what I consider to be the best quick service restaurant in the park, Columbia Harbor House. We got chicken strips, clam chowder, and a grilled shrimp skewer, all of which were pretty good. All 3 items came out to be $31.70, which isn't too bad for lunch, but it isn't great.
Yeah.
We did find a nice seat on the second floor and watched the enormous amount of people flow through Liberty Square. And then through the rest of the day, we didn't do much else. Though, to be fair, that was kind of by choice, as I just didn't want to stand for an hour and a half in a queue. In the meantime, Emmy wanted to get a drink to keep her awake and a little snack like a classic popcorn. We stood in line at the Joffrey's coffee shop in Tomorrowland, where Emmy got a regular-sized vanilla cold brew. That was a staggering $7.20. Not much better was the popcorn, which came out to be $5.50. As we walked around the park, we knew that we had one attraction that we really wanted to try, and that was Tron. Tron Light Cycle Run is the newest attraction at the Magic Kingdom, a launch coaster which was first announced all the way back in 2017 and finally opened here in spring of 2023. Regardless, instead of doing a traditional queue, since it's a new ride, Disney has you join a free virtual queue on the app either at 7 a.m. in the morning or again at 1 p.m. We missed the 7 a.m. one, but tried to get a boarding group for the 1 p.m. one. We did this while in the waiting area at Hall of Presidents, and despite waiting on the app right at the 1 p.m. dot, I guess it just didn't work, or they distributed them out already? I don't know. But that left us with one other choice. The evil choice. We had to purchase the individual lightning lane, as that would be the only way we could ride it. On the app, it shows what the price for the attraction will be, and I thought it was already calculating the price for 2 people.
Nope.
But no, to ride this attraction, it would be $20 per person. So we paid $42.60 to go ride Tron later that evening. $42 for a 60-second attraction. That is a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Regardless, we got off right when the fireworks show was starting up. Thankfully, Disney has brought back Happily Ever After, and I honestly did miss the show and seeing it from within the park. It was pretty nice. It was by far the happiest I had been all day. In fact, the whole park and experience got a lot better once the sun went down. But it was now time for dinner, and we booked reservations at a table service restaurant called Skipper Canteen, a relatively new restaurant that opened in 2015, and I've heard really good things. The restaurant itself is really well themed, and the cast members are great. The food, however, was really nothing special. Emmy got 2 appetizers for her main meal, shrimp and rice along with a seasonal soup, while I got the chicken. Emmy's soup was really good, but she didn't think the shrimp was anything special, nor did I with the chicken, as I found it to be a little bland. We also got a chocolate banana dessert, which was pretty good.
Okay.
The total before tip came out to be $67.63.
Wow.
And after tip, well, you'll be floating around the $80 mark.
I'm just telling you right now, I can order a whole lot more from like Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, and things like that for the same price. I know it's about quality, but I can get a whole lot more.
Honestly, Disney food, especially table service, is often really good, but I think I found this to be a little overpriced for what we got, so this whole dinner was definitely not worth it. Once we left the restaurant, it was around 10 p.m. We had also snagged a Space Mountain lightning lane that evening, but it apparently broke down right before we were about to board.
Oh,
Despite
no.
receiving a lightning lane for any attraction, it was cold out, it was still busy, and I didn't feel like walking across the park again, so we just decided to leave. And that was our day at Disney. It was
So I wonder if they got their money back for it, right?
nice to be back in some ways, but the park was just far too busy to actually have an enjoyable time. Then again, Magic Kingdom has never been my favorite park, so I don't know. But I bet you're wondering what the damage is.
Yeah.
To tally this all up, I'm going to only include the one-way fare for the Mears bus to the resort, as the full round-trip cost would be the total cost for an entire trip. And for this, we're just taking a look at a slice of a full trip. So when we add everything up, the hotel, the park add-ons, all the food, the total cost for a single day...
Sorry, hold on. I don't want to know the total cost yet. So, one way is 33. One night is 280 for 2 people. Magic Kingdom is 328 for 2. Genie Plus for 2 is 46. Light Lane 2 is 42. 2 for hotel breakfast 27. 2 for park lunch is 31. Park dinner for 2 is 83. And the park snacks, which is about 13 bucks. I want to say 5, maybe 800. 800 I think is good.
At Disney
900.
for 2 adults
900.
came out to a jaw-dropping
There you go.
$886 USD. That was pretty surprising to me that it collectively cost that much, especially since I don't always remember it being that expensive. And that got me thinking on what historically this same type of day would have cost in another time. So I picked a random modern year like 2017. a period of time when I was visiting the parks a lot. I calculated what the exact same experience would cost us in 2017, just
How?
having to substitute menu items from 2024 for similar food selections then, since some
Okay.
of them didn't exist. So the exact same trip in
Maybe
2017 would have
500?
cost a total of $567. That's
Wow.
almost a
Yep. Yep.
$320 difference between two trips. That's a 44% increase in just 7 years, far outpacing inflation, which is around 24% since 2017. Now, a few things jump out at you when you look at this too. Obviously, some of the free offerings like airport transportation
Mm-hmm.
and fast passes were free. That alone is another $155 extra for two people. So yeah, doing a Disney World trip has gotten a lot more expensive. And remember, this is without buying additional merchandise or any other snacks or even magic bands, which used to be free, but are now like $35 for some
Oh
reason.
my
To be
god.
fair though, there are many ways to reduce costs. For instance, you can bring your own water and snacks into the
Yep.
park, so you can
Which is what we
easily go
did.
without buying anything. $280 for a hotel is already pretty decent for the area. We could also stay at one of the Flamingo Crossing hotels for as low as $130 a night. There are just so many other ways to trim the fat off your vacation if you're trying to get frugal. There's many tips and sites out there that will help you do that. Now, that $886 is just for one day of a trip. But the truth is, most people are going to buy multiple day packages.
Yup.
So the more days you add with tickets, the more of a discount you get. So let's take a look at what an entire trip would cost for a hypothetical family of 3, 2
Oh
adults
god.
and 1 child spending 6 total days at a resort and 4 days at the parks, along with all of the established food and drink costs, plus all the basic Genie Plus add-ons. With that, you're looking at around $4,000 for
God.
Disney's ultra cheap All-Star Music Resort, $4,567 at Port Orleans,
You can get
where we
more off a
stayed, and
cruise or
around
international stuff.
$5,688 at a cheaper deluxe resort like
That's not
Beach
bad.
Club. All of these
room
resorts were
looks good.
priced out with a pretty decent discount, and this is all without some optional extras like Park Hopper. There's also Magic Maker, their photo service for $185, and other special
my own
ticketed
pictures.
events like dessert parties and holiday parties, and
You don't
even a
need that.
dining plan.
No,
And
you
this
don't
is
need
all
it.
during some of the cheapest times to stay at some of the resorts. And if you want an actual nice or luxurious room of any kind, that 6-day trip becomes a lot more expensive, especially if you add more people, upgrade your food, and just anything else. But even if you expand our actual trip out to the hypothetical 6 days, we'd be landing around the $4,375 range with everything all in. That gives you quite a bit of money to go pretty much wherever you want.
Mhm.
In my previous video, I priced out a trip to the French Riviera for just $3,462. Even when you tack on food, it's still cheaper than this.
Oh, yeah.
Same if you want to go somewhere really out of the way, like Bali. I've calculated that that would cost you right around the $4,660 range. Plus, you get to stay at this incredible villa at the Maya Ubed Resort. Even if you want to do something Disney, you can easily get a week-long Disney cruise for that, even on the Disney Fantasy in a balcony cabin. So after spending all of this time and money for this video, finding out what Disney really costs these days, yeah, it's difficult to justify how expensive the whole experience has gotten, especially for me, as I didn't even really enjoy my day at the Magic Kingdom. But after I answered my own question on how much it all costs, and pretty much came to the conclusion that it's not worth it, I can't help but think that nobody seems to care if Disney
Yep.
is just staggeringly more expensive
true.
than it used to be, all while removing perks that used to be free. At this point, there basically is no argument to be made for Genie Plus and the elimination of FastPass. It is simply anti-consumer, as are these steep price hikes. But the thing is, the park was packed with people, so I guess most people just eat the costs. And I mean, it shows. The parks division of the Walt Disney Company, not the entire corporation, just the parks, generated a truly unbelievable $32.5 billion in fiscal year 2023. It is the largest profit center for the entire company. But at the end, I really am frustrated by this whole thing. I remember hearing or reading Len Testa from Touring Plans say something along the lines of how a family should be recommended to purchase Genie Plus and just accept the
Should be.
$400 or $500 extra
Yeah,
cost to a
right.
trip. Because if this is your once in a lifetime family trip to Florida, then yeah, it's probably worth it if it
Okay, then
allows
it
you
probably
to
would be.
experience the park at its very best.
Yeah, once in a
But
lifetime.
boy, is it frustrating to see Disney make something that used to be free, generate tens of millions from it,
Literally.
and give no extra value in the parks. I think we've gotten to a point now where it's just too much. Yeah, there were 600 million people in the park with me that day, but there is a narrative that's sticking on how Disney World is just out of reach for many families. And I'm now seeing very brand loyal people break ranks and complain about the consumer squeezing. I think it's very important that when companies unapologetically make anti consumer choices that affect the most budget conscious people, it's an important thing to make your voice a legitimate concern.
And he's right. But the fact that they still do what they do is kind of daunting.
Especially when it makes a place that you love going to a lot harder to do. And that's what I've found personally with this. I really do love the Disney parks, but I'm not willing to put up with the huge price hikes and this convoluted system where I know there are better places for my money to be spent. The value proposition of the parks is not growing along with the price. If anything, it's getting worse. So I would really suggest looking into what else you can do with your $4,000 or $5,000, $6,000, and all of the places you can see and do with that kind of money. Thanks for joining me on this very deep dive, and I really am curious to hear your thoughts on the state of Walt Disney World right now, and if you personally think it's worth the money. I genuinely don't know how I feel. I don't want this video to be taken seriously negative. I guess I'm more sad than anything else. So please do leave a comment and tell me what you think. I also mentioned that there are some luxurious and premium hotel offerings aside from our hotel, and we did in fact try out a few, so make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're interested in hearing my honest thoughts on them. But until then, my name is Jake, and thank you very much for watching.
Jake. No, he's made really good points, and it has gotten expensive, I'll be honest with it. But he also, and I agree with him on this, is that a lot of people don't care if the prices have gone up or they didn't notice the subtle price increase. Like what he said, almost a 40% increase for the last 7 years. Not a lot. It's like they don't care. And people are just throwing money away left, right, and center, and then all of a sudden they're going, we don't have any money left over. It's like, yeah, you spent $5,000 at Disneyland. But it was a place you could go to and enjoy with your family. But now it's just one of those things where some people may have to decide, is it worth going, or do we just wait for a better experience? Do we go with family? Like, you just got to choose a little practically, a little more practical, and a little bit just with some more awareness is all. But yeah, let me know your comments too. I'd be really interested to hear what you guys are thinking about this.